All right. Well, everybody, welcome as usual to the Privacy Exchange Communities Show and Tell show with our special guest today, Soribel Feliz. In today's session with Soribel, we will discuss her career path working on responsible AI governance, the future of work in an AI-enabled world, and her views on where AI is headed next. Soribel is a responsible AI consultant and thought leader in the AI ethics space. She is currently a senior AI policy and governance specialist at the Department of Homeland Security here in the United States. Previously, she was a senior AI and tech policy advisor to Senator Bill Cassidy as part of an AI Rapid Response Fellowship in Congress. Prior to that, she worked in regulatory compliance at both Meta and Microsoft. Prior to moving over to big tech, she was part of the diplomatic service with the United States Department of State, where she served overseas in Bucharest, Sao Paulo, and Washington, D.C. She has her master's degree in public administration and economics from the Maxwell School at Syracuse University, and we are delighted to have you today, Soribel. So I do, before we get started, want to mention Soribel is here in her personal capacity. She is not here on behalf of any outside organization. We are having a discussion with Soribel in her personal capacity. So, as usual, we'll spend about 10 to 15 minutes in a interview between Soribel and me. Then we'll open it up to audience questions for 10 to 15 minutes. As a reminder, none of the information shared today is legal advice. I don't even think Soribel's a lawyer, neither am I. So if
I'm
you
not.
need legal advice, contact your own lawyer. All right, are you ready to hop in, Soribel?
I am.
Sounds great. Okay, so our very first question is I'm totally blown away by your background. Your career experience is amazing, from being a diplomat in the Foreign Service to working in trust and safety initiatives at big tech to now working at the Department of Homeland Security on AI governance. I'd really like to know more about your career and how your early career work with the Foreign Service and big tech shapes what you do today in AI governance for the government.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you for having me. I am so happy to be here and to be interviewed by you. It's an honor. So yeah, as you mentioned, my career started in the Foreign Service. So I first worked on the Hill in 2011 when the world was going up in flames. The Arab Spring was happening, a lot was happening all over the world, and I got to work in those issues and decided to join the Foreign Service. I was there for 8 years. And some of the things that kept happening were tech policy issues. So, for example, when I was in Romania, I was part of the cybersecurity working group. My information was hacked by that infamous OPM hack that affected like a million federal workers. And I just kept being intrigued by all of this tech issues that were happening that ultimately were tech policy issues. So when I was back in Washington, I was working as a desk officer for Sri Lanka, and I kept seeing how misinformation and tech issues in general, like when the Trump administration was very focused on our big power competition with China, most of it was focused on tech, whether it's AI, whether it's quantum, whether it's cyber issues. So all of these things were pointing me to tech. And so, I really wanted to be in the center of action. And so that led me to, make the pivot and go work for big tech, starting with Facebook, where that's where I really got to work on AI and machine learning things. I was working with the team that built the content moderation algorithm at Facebook. And, I got to be introduced to AI and how machine learning, moderates content. Like an algorithm gets to decide what goes on the platform and what doesn't go, what is fit for your eyes and what is not. And that's just the algorithm for Facebook, but the same algorithms, the same idea control what things you see, not just on social media, but when you're buying a house, when you're looking for jobs, whether or not your resume is shown to an employer. Algorithms determine so many things in our daily lives. So that motivated me after I left Facebook, after I left Microsoft, to keep working on these things. So then that's where I went to Congress to work for a senator who was very interested in AI. And I was trying to decide between two offers, and I was like, being in the center of power for AI and another tech company, I think being in the center of power for AI was a better bet for me.
That is so fascinating. I love a lot of folks in privacy and then now new areas like AI governance have these interesting paths. So it's cool to see that it really started from a policy perspective to you to like really understanding like, wow, these algorithms are driving all of life. So it touches everything. So yeah. Well, again, I know we're not allowed to go into details on that, but I do want to just get your advice. If based on your experience, both um, working for the senator and now at the Department of Homeland Security, and I guess also your own independent research, which we'll get into in a moment, what advice would you have just from being in it on a day-to-day basis to someone at a different agency or someone at a different company in the private sector? Any lessons you've learned, any wisdom you can share so someone can, leapfrog past these like first trial experiences?
Yeah, so my most important advice is find your niche, your industry and your community, and carve your own space in it. And don't try to know everything, follow everything, do everything, because it's a lot. So, for example, if you are, let's say, a state and local government kind of person, if you love that, stick to that. Stick to your state and local government. You can learn the bigger legislation that is happening at the federal level. But if state and local government is your thing, like, stay there. Or let me use another example. Let's say that you work in AI governance for the autonomous vehicle industry. Focus on that. Don't try to go into like AI and health governance, AI governance in education, because it's a lot. A lot is happening. In like, it's just impossible to keep up with it all. And so that's something that I struggle with myself, because I want to go and see what's happening in the health sector and in the education sector and in the national security and defense sector. But it's a lot. And so when you try to do so much, you end up not doing anything well. So that's
Yeah.
the biggest piece of advice. And find your community too, because not only is it too much to, be part of so many communities in different sectors, but if you focus your energy in like building your community in your industry, then you have plenty of material there, and you have plenty of events happening there. So that would be my biggest piece of advice.
I really like to hear you say that too, because it can be very overwhelming and, lack of action due to being overwhelmed with the agony of choice is a problem. So narrowing your focus to get things done is excellent advice. You actually lead into my next question with the community. You are doing something in addition to your work at DHS. You recently launched something called the Tech Careers of the Future. Can you tell us a little bit about that and what inspired you to do that?
Yeah, so that is a project that I'm doing. It's a passion project. Basically, it's me reaching out to my network, the people in my network who are tech leaders, and asking them to come to my show, which is a virtual show, and tell us how they're seeing the future, right? How they're seeing the future, especially in their industry. And basically dishing out advice for career transitioners and for young people who are feel very uncertain and are very nervous and anxious about AI and what AI is going to do to the workforce and to the labor market and to the job market. Will AI take my job? So I see a lot of despondency and anxiety and uncertainty, especially now also with the federal workforce. And I'm, I see it, I feel it, and I empathize, and I really want to bring some kind of positivity and some kind of action oriented advice to the people who reach out to me and ask me, okay, so what's going to happen? Or the parents of young people entering the workforce who are like, what should my kid like study, and like, what do I do if AI is going to eliminate that entry level ladder for young professionals? So, it's something that I can't answer, right? But if I bring this people from these hot industries, let's say cloud or trust and safety or privacy or quantum computing, if I bring them on my show and share that with the world, people can learn from that person's experience, how that person got there, because nobody's going to school right now for AI governance, right? I mean, maybe now there's some degrees popping up, right? But none of us got here by going to school for AI governance. And so, what I want to do is show some kind of empathy, acknowledgement of people's anxiety, but also provide practical steps for how they can deal with this, because it's not something that we can prevent. It's something that we have to just be proactive with and just do our best. And so that's my goal with that show. And it's early stages. I have a lot of vision, and I have a big ambitions for it. But it's just me, and I'm trying to make it as useful as possible.
Yeah, I'm very excited to hear you say that because showing examples, I think gives people the inspiration they need to pivot their career. Like I think I read something you wrote recently where like there was a lawyer who was laid off recently or due to like AI initiatives at their job. And I think you recommended something like, pivoting into like legal software product development
Yeah.
or something like that. So just even giving like ideas like that of ways you could pivot in this new era of work, which is like so nebulous. I really appreciate you for doing that, Soribel. I have one last question for you before we open it up to the audience to ask questions. I'm curious about what concerns you and what inspires you the most in terms of AI risk and AI opportunity. And also related to that, what keeps you in this profession? Like why, I know why you chose it, but why do you stay? What gives you hope?
Yeah. So for AI risks, there's quite a few going on, but the one that I'm more worried about is this all of this AI startups popping up that have absolutely no concern, no regard, or let's just say they're blissfully ignorant about privacy. So, for example, there's a tech leader that I follow, um, bro slash leader, depending on how you define it. But he shared his AI tech stack, right? And I went and read it. I was like, yeah, I want to see what you have. And it's a bunch of tools that are minimally helpful, like like meeting summaries, transcribers, and someone a tool that takes over your email, and then they send more efficient emails, whatever that means. I was like, I can go and try all of these tools, right? Put in my email, let them sync with my Google suite, and then totally forget about it because the AI tools are completely useless. And let's be honest. And then these tools keep getting my information. There's nothing there about privacy. There's nothing. There's no, not even a cookie notice, or and there's nothing there to protect your privacy. So, and there's so many of us that are so excited about all these tools that are going to make our lives easier, and we don't, like, I'm a privacy person, so I commented on his post, and I was like, hey, but where's the privacy in here? He ignored me. But other people are not even concerned about that. They freely give their data, and they forget about these tools that are collecting all of their information there. So it's just a nascent industry that is capitalizing on our excitement and our fear and our anxiety, because if we don't test all 200 tools, we're going to be left behind. And they're capitalizing on that, and they're capitalizing on being a startup, a small team. There's no one there. Even if you wanted to send a question, there's no one there. And so that has me really worried. I'm hoping that someone will take it upon themselves to to change this. But it's really scary. Like, we don't know where our data is going. At this point, I'm more comfortable with Google taking all of my data than giving it to this, young people that are very excitedly, you know, doing their thing and using AI to make our lives easier, but they have no clue about privacy, or they just don't care.
Then on the flip side, what keeps you inspired? And then we'll open it up to audience questions.
What keeps me inspired is the promise of AI, because the promise of AI is real, right? Like, it will help us do this. It will help us, more efficiently and cheaply uh, get things accomplished that would take humans a lot more time, money, resources, energy. So I'm still hopeful about it. I just hope that instead of using all that talent and all that engineering capacity and all that compute capacity to come up with more tools that take notes in our meetings, let's use it for something good, for something really that can really help humanity, right? That can really help, with scientific breakthroughs, and really be a tutor for kids that have learning, you know, disadvantages. That's my hope. I really hope that someone that someone will take it upon themselves to really leverage the power of AI for the good of humanity. I still hope that. I still do hope that. Um, but I guess first we have to go through the hype first.
I love it. Well, that concludes our interview portion of this event. And so we'll turn off the recording and open it up to audience Q&A. And Soribel, I will mention that